Again, another example where it cannot be factored. You would have written prime on this one if you couldn't factor it. So the only thing that you can do here is complete the square. So to complete the square, again, my A coefficient over here is 1. That's exactly what I want. If this were here, I'd have to get rid of it. So now I'm going to get the 6 onto the other side. So what's left over here is y squared plus 8y equals -6. Now to do this easily, all you have to do is take half of this coefficient, positive 8, square it, and get 16. Okay, and that's what you're going to add to both sides. And you're going to add it over here also. So over here I have 10 is equal to, and now I have something that is a perfect square that I can factor. Y plus 4 quantity square will give me this trinomial up here. So now all I have to do is take the square root of both sides. Y plus 4 equals plus or minus the square root of 10, and subtract 4 from both sides. Now if I solve this like a normal thing that we thought we were going to factor, you'd be bringing the x squared, you'd subtract 4x from both sides, minus 1 equals 0. And you'd find out I can't factor this, so I must use one of my other tools. And your other tool is completing the square. So now I have to get the 1 over here, so if I put the 1 over there as a positive 1, I get x squared minus 4x, and then I need something in here. Again, so the trick is to take half of this coefficient, -4, half of that is -2, and square it. I get positive 2. So, I'm sorry, half of -4 is -2, square it, and I get positive 4. So now I have a perfect square. Oh, I added 4 here, and I did exactly what I told you not to do, is I forgot to add it over here again. So now we have 5 over here, and we have x minus 2 over here gives us the -4 and the positive 2. So now I take the square root of both sides. X minus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 5. Add 2 to both sides. X is equal to 2 plus or minus root 5. Now this has everything on the left side. And to complete the square, the thing I'm going to have to do is I always need a coefficient of 1 to my square term. The quadratic term right here, I need to get that as 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by 3. When I divide by 3, I divide every term by 3. So I get n squared plus 4n plus 1/3 equals 0. Well, don't worry about that 1/3. I know that looks crazy to you because we really haven't dealt with anything like this. So what you're going to do is you're just going to get that on the other side. So now we have minus 1/3 on the right side, and we have the n squared plus 4n on the left, and we want to complete the square. Half of positive 4 is 2. Square it, I get positive 4. Now I can factor this into the perfect square of n plus 2 squared is equal to minus 1/3. Take the square root of both sides. N plus 2 is equal to plus or minus the square root of negative 1/3. Here you're going to have an imaginary number over here. So we're going to add 2 to both, or subtract 2 from both sides. So n is equal to minus 2 plus or minus. Now you've got I over 3. So this actually breaks up into the square root of -1 over the square root of 3. So, which becomes, move it over here to the right, minus 2 plus or minus I over root 3. Now I have to rationalize this denominator over here. I know this is small, so I'm going to multiply this by root 3 over root 3, and I get minus 2 plus or minus I root 3 all over 3. Again, let's get our constant term on the right side. So put the 1 over here. That leaves me the x squared minus x on the left side. Remember, there's a -1 in here. I take half of it, which is 1/2, and I square it, which gives me, remember, 1/2, -1/2 squared is equal to 1/4. So I'm going to add 1/4 to both sides. Now I can factor this. I know you don't like to factor fractions, but now I have 5/4 over here. 1/4, 1 is 4/4 plus 1/4 is 5/4. Over here, I get the x. Now remember, I took half of this and squared it, so I already know what the square root of 1/4 is. It's 1/2. So I know that this is going to be 1/2 over here, and it is negative because I need to get a positive here when I square it, and -1/2 and -1/2 give me the -1. So it works out exactly like the other one. Now, take the square root of both sides. X minus 1/2 is equal to the square root of 5/4. And so, I add 1/2 to both sides. X is equal to 1/2 plus or minus, and I forgot that again, okay, the square root of 5 over 2. Well, now I have a common denominator, add and subtract fractions. I can actually put those together as 1 plus or minus root 5 all over 2. Okay, with the leading coefficient of my x squared as 1/2, all I have to do is multiply through by 2 to get rid of it. So if I multiply the entire equation through by 2, I get 1x squared, which is exactly what I want, minus 6x equals 4 over here. Now, notice our constant term is already over there. So, I take half of -6, which is -3, square it. That gives me 9, so I'm going to add 9 to both sides. So I get 13 over here, and this factors now, because that's the way we made it, is x minus 3 times x minus 3, or quantity x minus 3 squared. And so now I can take the square root of both sides. X minus 3 equals the square root of 13. And add 3 to both sides. X is equal to 3 plus or minus the square root of 13. Just like you can work with fractions as coefficients, you can work with decimals. But let's get rid of the decimals. Let's just multiply through by 10. So that gives me 6x squared plus 20 equals 24x. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 24x and move it to the left side, so it becomes a negative 24x. And I take the positive 20, move it over here, it becomes minus 20. And actually, I didn't have to multiply through by 10. I could have, because you could notice that they're all divisible by 2. So I could write this first as 3x squared plus 10 equals 12x. Now I can get the 12x over here. 3x squared minus 12x equals negative 10. And all I really did was move these two back and forth. So now I'm going to divide by 3, and I get x squared minus 4x equals minus 10 thirds. Just leave it like that. Now take half of negative 4, because I need to complete the square over here. Take half of negative 4 and square it, which is negative 2 squared is 4. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides, okay, which makes this a perfect square. X minus 2, quantity squared, is equal to, if we want to put this all together here, we're going to have 12 thirds minus 10 thirds is 2 thirds. So you have 2 thirds over here. Take the square root of both sides. X minus 2 equals the square root of 2 thirds, plus or minus. And add 2 to both sides. X is equal to 2 plus or minus the square root of 2 thirds. Now this has a root 3 on the denominator, so if I multiply this by root 3 over root 3, this becomes 2 plus or minus root 6 over 3. And just leave it like that.